Hello, welcome once again to today's Eculo analysis. We're going to review major legal development in Nigeria this week. We just got back from Abuja, where we went to monitor the trial in the case of Peter Nwachukwu. On the 20th and the 21st of June, the trial of Peter Nwachukwu opened. His trial on 28th for the death of his wife and several other charges associated with domestic violence that led, allegedly, to the death of Osinachi, the famous gospel artist, who died on the 8th of April, triggering huge outcry all over Nigeria and deepening the people's interest in the fight against domestic violence. DPA, our sister organization, engaged Eculo and requested that we stay on top of that case and to monitor it and advise our audience. We were in court. Trial opened. The prosecution has been able to call 3 witnesses so far. Those 3 witnesses were the mother of Osinachi, Caroline Madu. The second was Favor Madu, elder sister of Osinachi. And the third prosecution witness was the twin sister of Osinachi. These 3 important witnesses helped us to see the direction of the prosecution's case. The 3 ladies testify about their impressions and opinions about domestic violence which they believe their sister suffered. Interestingly, none of them actually witnessed an instance of domestic violence. They never witnessed actual beating, but they testify that they believe their sister was beaten and that they believe that Peter was beating their sister like animal, unquote. They were so dramatic, so passionate, so insistent in that conclusion that there was beating. However, none of them was able to point to any particular instance of domestic violence that they witnessed. So we thought it was interesting that these people testified, but we hope that the prosecution will be able to call witnesses who could testify directly to what they witnessed. That is the sort of witnesses that the prosecution will need. Hearsay witnesses, hearsay testimonies, testimonies of impressions or distant or remote assessment of events may not help very much in establishing the guilt of the accused person. But the next set of witnesses will be very interesting. The court has adjourned the trial to the 15th of July. And from every indication on that date, the prosecution is going to put on the stand 2 children, the 12-year-old and 10-year-old sons of Osinachi Nwachukwu and Peter Nwachukwu will testify to what they saw. Of course, being minors, special arrangements have been made to take their testimonies. They will be screened from the public. They will be shielded from the public. The court is going to ask certain people to leave the court, with the exception of the prosecution, the defense counsel, the officials of the court, and the parents of those minor children. Other than that, the court will be evacuated. People will be out, and these children will testify hooded. In other words, it will not be identified who exactly is saying what. All we know is that it's going to be one of those 2 witnesses that will be testified. Of course, their names will be called up as they go into testify, but their faces will not be seen. So what is the significance of the testimony of these 2 witnesses? This is something you can expect. Children are generally believed to be honest and non-malicious. Children are generally believed to not have a motive to lie in court. So a lot of credence is attached to testimonies of children all over the world. However, also, the children do have limitations. One, their testimonies are not sworn because they are under age 14. And not being a sworn testimony, the court has certain flexibilities in terms of the level of weight that attach to the testimonies of children, unsworn testimonies. Also, there is the question of the testimony of a child must be corroborated It is risky for the court to rely on the unsworn testimonies of a minor. In this case, the prosecution wants to use the testimonies of the 10-year-old to corroborate the testimony of the 12-year-old. That raises another set of questions, which is whether you can corroborate unsworn testimony with another unsworn testimony. These are certain details that the lawyers are going to fine-tune in the argument as the case goes forward. We are just raising these things now, so you will be aware of it when they come up. Okay? Another problem the prosecution is going to have is, how do you impeach a witness when such witness is a child? How do you cross-examine a witness when that witness is a child? The court is going to be bent over to protect the interests of children. So the defense counsel knows that they cannot be aggressive in cross-examination. Also, the prosecution has some leeway. The prosecution can lead a minor witness, a fragile, delicate witness of that nature. Certain things will be done differently. Many lawyers are not used to witnessing the testimonies of minors, and they don't often testify in court. It's important to say that. But as a result, many lawyers are not experienced in cross-examining or processing minor witnesses. But these defense lawyers must be prepared. They must get used to it. They must understand this is going to happen. They're going to deal with a very special set of witnesses. So, unlike those other witnesses who could not testify to what they actually saw, who could not testify to first-hand observation of what was going on in Osinachi Nwachukwu's house, these children will be different. They'll be testifying as to what they saw because they lived in that house with Osinachi and Peter Nwachukwu. So they're going to testify whether they saw their father beating their mother, or the sort of beating, when it occurred, what happened, and such details firsthand will be presented through these children. And that is why the testimonies of these children are going to be very major factors in the establishment of the guilt or otherwise of the accused person, Peter Nwachukwu. So I believe that all eyes should be on the testimonies of these children. We're going to watch them carefully. We're going to see how it develops. We're going to see how the prosecution presents them. We're going to see how the defense counsel manages to deal with them. We're going to see how the court deals with these two witnesses. After these children testify on the 5th of July, we can say definitively that we can predict the outcome of that case, whether or not Peter Nwachukwu will be convicted or not, whether he will be convicted of the main offense of culpable homicide, or whether he will be convicted of lesser offenses of domestic violence, or whether he will be totally acquitted and discharged. We don't know until we listen to the witnesses, the testimonies of these two witnesses. And by the way, tomorrow is going to be the 25th of June. Osinachi Nwachukwu will be interred. She'll be buried in her hometown and family land tomorrow. Peter Nwachukwu is not happy about that development. But Peter is incarcerated. He's not in a position to fight over where his wife is buried, and given the circumstances of it. So, the burial will occur tomorrow. They chose to bury her in her father's house, consistent with the feelings of Osinachi family members that Peter killed their daughter, that their sister died in the hands of her husband. Therefore, they're actually trying to distance even her dead body from Peter Nwachukwu. So this is something we are looking into, and we're going to be hearing more about these things. And DPA, through ECULAW, will be monitoring these developments and shall keep our members informed. And I emphasize that DPA is interested in justice. We're interested in justice for Osinachi, in justice for everybody. But we insist on justice that is going to be based on law, justice that will be based on facts and evidence, not justice that will be based on rumors and conjectures and speculations in the social media. That we swear to, and that we shall observe. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.